Here you're ready for your dose of reality. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dr. Quack podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Quack, alongside...
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem. There's better be a damn good reason why you called me down here so early in the morning.
Oh, it is. We actually got a special request from one of our consultants.
A special request from one of our consultants. Like, this better be good.
This
early in the morning, this better be good.
This was actually, pretty good here. What we're getting ready to cover here is a rare pay-per-view that was shot in the UK. This was the Battle Royal of Albert Hall.
Is that why you sent me that last night to watch?
Yes.
Oh. For those of you that didn't know, to include us, the WWE, starting in about 1990, had a yearly tour that they did over in the United Kingdom. And they would do a pay-per-view or spot shows and build-up shows over in the United Kingdom that were not very well known here in the United States. So our fan, Nick from Michigan, he wanted us to check this one out. So Nick, this show is for you.
Yeah, thank you for the request here. Let's get down to it. On color commentary, you had Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and even in some spots, Lord Alfred Hayes.
The less we say about that, the better. But Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon, at least the commentary part was good. So what do we have first?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was an interesting first match here. You had the Rockers, Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty, taking on the Nasty Boys with Jimmy Hart.
This match really threw me off. The opening was very, very Larry Zbyszko-ish. A lot of stall, not a lot of action. But the crowd got hot on it. So it was worth it to get the crowd started. They woke up really quick. This really felt like a match of, let's test it out in the UK market and see if it would work in the United States. So all in all, because it got the crowd going and it gave us a good roller coaster, I gave it 2.5 stars.
I was pretty close to that. I gave it, 2 stars. It was a solid, opening match. Like I said, the progression of opening matches throughout wrestling has definitely improved. And this was 1991. Nasty Boys went over with outside interference. So, I gave it about 2 stars there.
Alrighty.
It was an okay match, but it wasn't nothing really to write home about, I felt like.
Alrighty. And in the next match, we had Ric Flair taking on Tito Santana.
Now, this one here, I will tell you, this was a match that I really enjoyed because, I've always liked Tito Santana. Of course, you have Ric Flair, the Nature Boy. I thought it was a very solid match, a little bit of back and forth. You couldn't really tell who was going to win this match. But, overall, Ric Flair at the end with the tights really just got me laughing, got the 3 count there. I gave it 3 stars.
There was a full moon over England that night.
There was. Oh, my God.
I felt the opposite about this match. I really felt that while Ric Flair matches tend to be very good, very quality, they're very long. And this is a big dichotomy between the NWA and what would become WCW versus WWF at the time. NWA was about the long story. The WWF was more about the flash, the showmanship, the pageantry. And Ric Flair had to learn that on the fly. You could tell the first about 10 to 12 minutes of that match, very slow. They started to lose the crowd. It was a typical Ric Flair type title match that just didn't work in the WWF very well. But the consummate professional Ric Flair he was able to save it. I only gave it 1.5 stars because the match really didn't, it felt disjointed to watch the match. The first 3/4 of it was very slow, very tedious. The crowd was starting to fall out of it. And then they kind of woke up with the typical Ric Flair get thrown off the top rope spot at the end. So I only gave it 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, I can see your point on it. It's definitely, it was a good star power match, I guess, because Flair just coming over from the NWA with the real world champion gimmick kind of, helped it out there. Bobby Heenan pleading to God that Flair wins this match and wins everything.
And who'd believe 10 years later that belt's there full time?
Yeah, that's totally insane. Never would have thought I saw it. So here you go, Earthquake with Jimmy Hart taking on the Big Boss Man.
Oof. This match had the potential to be decent. If this match would have been done in the States, it might have worked a little bit better. I felt it was way too long. They were out of gas. There were several times towards the end of the match you could tell that Earthquake and Bossman were struggling to run the ropes, and there was some staggering around. Because of that, I wanted to give it 1, but I gave it 1.5. They could have cut about half this match out of it and made it mean a little more of the Bossman and Earthquake, 2 big guys fighting, Jimmy Hart getting his comeuppance at the end. They could have cut this match in half and it would have been a 2.5-star match, but as it is, it was just too long. So, too long with not enough story. So 1.5 stars.
See, I went the other way. I went 2.5 on that. I mean, I thought that the storytelling was kind of funny. Just the Boss Man in general going after Jimmy Hart's crew. He was always involved with the Mountie, and then his match here with Earthquake.
Well, that also saved it to where I bumped it up to 1.5 because the Mountie came out and started his shtick with the Boss Man, because he had just, like, a couple of days before or a couple of nights before, they had the match where the Mountie had to spend a night in jail. So they did do a good job covering that part and explaining that. So there's more to go on that when that match comes up, which is next, so I'll lead us into it, with the Mountie taking on Kerry Von Erich, the former modern-day Warrior, now the Texas Tornado, and he was still called Kerry Von Erich at this time.
Who did Kerry Von Erich take on?
The Mountie.
The Mountie. He was involved in this last match. Now he's involved in this match.
Correct.
And honestly, I the Mountie won with 2 feet on the ropes right there. I laughed hard at this match. It was just pure comedy because he tried to get him back in. They tried to restart the match. The Mountie ran away. Typical, heel fashion there. I gave it 2 stars.
And I was very critical on this match. I was watching the Mountie's face, and you could see the obvious, not match frustration, real Jacques Rougeau was upset frustration that Kerry Von Erich was not doing what he was supposed to be. He was wooden. He'd try and roll him over for a pinfall, and Kerry kept trying to roll the other way. You could see the obvious frustration. You could tell it when the Mountie threw Kerry Von Erich into the stairs, how Kerry Von Erich didn't go in the normal way. It was... The frustration was there. Sorry, we got our guard dog down here playing and keeping an eye on things, so we apologize for that. The crowd in this wanted to get into it. You could tell with the restart of the match, the crowd wanted to be into this. They just didn't get it out of them. I only gave it 1.25 stars.
Yeah, I mean, it just wasn't it was lackluster. It really was. But this led into the Undertaker at the funeral parlor cutting a promo. You didn't really hear him cut too many promos during that time frame. Usually it was Paul Bearer. How did you feel about that?
I've always been a fan of the funeral parlor. The biggest thing about wrestling, for those of you that are interested in becoming wrestlers or independent guys trying to get yourself noticed, the biggest thing you want to do is you want to stand out. You want to be a little bit different. And the funeral parlor was definitely different.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely something exciting. I always looked forward to it. Every Superstars that it came on.
I did too. And it was that and the Brother Love segment were probably the 2 of the best segments of the talk show that actually built the stories along. So I really enjoyed that segment. And The Undertaker's, while his words were very short, punctuated it very well.
Yeah, I mean, and that led into The Undertaker versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I never would have thought, I don't think I've seen that match in the States ever. You?
I can't think of one.
Yeah, I mean, It was a solid match. You know, the fans were behind him. It was funny just to see United Kingdom fans over there chanting USA.
I will give you that. If Jim Duggan could be over enough that he gets British fans to chant USA, that's a big deal. And this, for those of you that didn't know, this is about 1 month before the Undertaker won his first world title in the WWF. So I felt this match was kind of, Duggan was that sounding board, for lack of a better term. If he could work with you and felt you were okay, then you probably could have got the title. So I thought the match was actually really good for a Jim Duggan match. Taker doing his very old school, almost every move is a choke, but it meant something when he did it. I gave this match 2 3/4 stars.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. I went 2.5, so I mean, I was pretty much there with it. My problem with it, I mean, and I think this is where they saw that Paul Bearer, you know, constantly getting him to look at the urn. They slowly went away from that throughout the years. Mm-hmm. You know, like the urn was controlling him. Finally, that ended about a couple years later at SummerSlam. Yeah. But you know, outside that, it was a really decent match.
It was. It was, and it was a good build from the crowd. It built up the storyline with Survivor Series with the Undertaker. All in all, it was a really good storytelling match.
Yeah. So the big one here, next one here, LOD Tag Team Titles taking on Power and Glory.
Power and Glory. This was Hercules Hernandez and Paul Roma, for those of you, which is probably most of you, forgotten that. They were a short-lived team. Not very good. It was basically one of those things that they tried to come up with something for him to do. And Paul Roma shortly went after that. I think he went over to the NWA after that and became a horseman for about a cup of coffee.
Pretty much. It was around that time frame, yeah.
And it wasn't good. The LOD forced these guys to sell, forced these guys to work. They basically beat it into them. You could see the hits getting harder and harder as Hercules, or especially Paul Roma, were doing less and less to make sense. But I did give it 2.5 stars. I mean, you get hit that hard, eventually you start playing ball, and towards the end they did start playing ball.
Yeah. I mean, I went 2 stars on this. It just felt lackluster. Probably the big thing that I saw was when Hawk went off for that clothesline, and he dove 3/4 of the ring and then flew out of the ring. I mean, that really was like, man, he overkilled that one.
Well, and my big thing I thought on that was, usually when that move is done, the person that's standing in the middle, if that's what you're trying to set up where you miss and go out of the ring, usually they're halfway in the middle of the ring. Paul Roma was well forward of halfway. So yeah, I think that was Hawk more having to cover because there was a lot planned for the outside. And again, Paul Roma, there's a reason that he's the only person that thinks he should have been a world champion.
Yes. So here you go. Barbarian against the British Bulldog. I mean, this is his hometown. Fans are excited to see him.
Yes, they were very excited, and this is what I refer to as a hometown feel-good match. You know, you let the hometown guy come in. There's nothing really important about the match. There's no story behind it. It's just let him go out there, you know, shaking the hands, kissing the babies. Get yourself over, enjoy some adulation, because Davey Boy Smith, as just the British Bulldog, was kind of hot at this time. He was getting ready to win the Intercontinental title and main event the Wembley Stadium, yeah. Wembley Stadium. So he was getting really close to that. So this was a good build towards that. Barbarian is not a super great talent. He's a okay talent. He's a better tag team wrestler, while the Warlord's not great either. The Powers of Pain were not bad. So I did give this match 2 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I was basically about in the same route. I gave it 2.5 just because, you know, it was nice to see the fans. They really popped for him. It was something that they felt was special. But, I mean, the match was, a little better than average. This is what's wild. They go directly from there, and they go into the 20-man battle royal. Now, this has everybody in the match that wrestled that whole show, plus 2 other ones.
They also had Roddy Piper and Typhoon made appearances in this match, and they were hyping Roddy Piper the whole night. The Roddy Piper Ric Flair feud that was building during this time, they really put that over. That, you know, was Roddy Piper going to be there? Was he going to be in the Battle Royal? Was Ric Flair going to be able to fend him off? So they did a good job of putting that over.
Yeah, I mean, they had a great feud in there. I mean, you see a lot. I mean, watching the Undertaker in there, just being as, you know, his early stage of stiffness there, where he wasn't really selling much, he wasn't supposed to sell much.
Right.
You know, I enjoyed that because it really was like he was breaking out the choke quite often.
Yes.
You know, and it came down to the final 4 there with the Boss Man, Typhoon, the Mountie, and the British Bulldog.
Yes, and they really put over the final 4, the story of 2 Jimmy Hart guys against 2 guys that just were, you know, popular with the fans. And they did a really good job of causing the dissension in the ranks between the Mountie and Typhoon. And all in all, it was an entertaining Final 4. The whole Battle Royal was actually not a bad Battle Royal. I'm not a huge fan of them. You kind of miss a lot of things, but all in all, there was a lot of good story in there. How Ric Flair got eliminated by Roddy Piper was very interesting, and then he turned around and pulled Roddy Piper out. That was interesting. Undertaker getting eliminated by Roddy Piper by basically just low bridging him. You know, there was a lot of interesting in this Battle Royal that played out over the next several years.
And they also sell towards the end, because at the end, the British Bulldog, you know, I wasn't shocked to see this. I haven't seen this pay-per-view before until recently. But the British Bulldog won the Samovar Cup there, the trophy there.
Yep, he won the Royal Teabag.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, a Samovar is a big coffee urn.
Yes. You know, they were talking about Jim Duggan putting peanut butter and jelly because he's fingerprints all over it, if he would have won. But the best one there, I mean, Andre the Giant, probably one of his last appearances that you got to see. You know, about a year away from his death. But, you know, he came out there and attacked the national disasters, you know, with his crutch and everything. It was just great to see him. I gave it 3 stars. I thought this was probably the match of the night. That's what everybody was looking forward to.
I would have to agree, 3 stars. It was the match of the night. There was some good internal storytelling going on. The crowd got the ending they wanted, and they got to see the Andre the Giant, who was a big celebrity in the United Kingdom because he was from across the channel in France. So him coming out and running off the natural disasters and saving Davey Boy Smith, yeah, 3 stars.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I gave it, you know, it was about a 2.5 to 3 star, you know, card in general, the overall on it.
I would only go about 2 stars. One of the things we did notice that we both made notes on is that WWE on its card, on its front card, when it was getting ready to bring it up, said there were technical difficulties. We only could show what we were able to say. So we don't know what was missing out of this card as well. There may have been a Typhoon and Roddy Piper match, we just don't know.
Yeah.
So, but all in all, I think this really felt like a test market match. Like England was the focus group. Some of these matches never appeared again. Some of them didn't work. A la the Boss Man and Earthquake didn't work. The Mountie and Kerry Von Erich. So I did give it 2 stars. There was some interesting things to happen. WWF didn't really push this very well. They kind of told you about it on TV. Hey, we're getting ready to go to England, and then nothing was mentioned of it again. So all in all, it was worth watching, but it wasn't stellar.
Yeah, I mean, thank you again, Nick, for bringing this to our attention. I'm glad I got to see it. It was definitely, you know, something of the obscure.
Yes, and for all the rest of you out there, if you want to see your main thing you want to see, you know, some special pay-per-view that you have fond memories of, or fond memories of in the other direction, you want to see just eviscerated here by the doctor and the important one, we'll definitely disembowel it if you want to see it. So make sure you leave us a comment and let us know any other shows you'd like to see on the Dr. Quack podcast, because the important one will do it.
I'm Dr. Quack. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in.
And I'm the important one, Mr. Mayhem, and y'all stay safe.
And I'm out.